Look, you want the money that was earmarked for the business rescue of SAA, which will now be used to help out the subsidiaries, SAA Technical, Mango and Air Chefs, to be stopped. Why?
Well, first of all, it wasn't voted on by the creditors and not part of the original business rescue plan. And I think, Bongani, we need to go even further back. We don't want any money put into state-owned entities that are failing. But in this process, we're now trying to save the subsidiaries by bypassing proper process, taking money out of a business rescue agreed amount that was allocated to SAA and putting it into Mango, SAA Technical and Air Chefs. And this is, we believe, is against the law and against the processes that have been voted on and followed. So if that's not going to be done properly, then we have to object to it.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions,
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
Look, you want the money that was earmarked for the business rescue of SAA, which will now be used to help out the subsidiaries, SAA Technical, Mango and Air Chefs, to be stopped. Why?
Well, first of all, it wasn't voted on by the creditors and not part of the original business rescue plan. And I think, Bongani, we need to go even further back. We don't want any money put into state-owned entities that are failing. But in this process, we're now trying to save the subsidiaries by bypassing proper process, taking money out of a business rescue agreed amount that was allocated to SAA and putting it into Mango, SAA Technical and Air Chefs. And this is, we believe, is against the law and against the processes that have been voted on and followed. So if that's not going to be done properly, then we have to object to it.
One of the things you want is for the funds to be withheld until submissions are made to Parliament and the Standing Committee of Appropriations have been heard. We know, of course, the parliamentary process is often just a numbers game. Government will get what it wants.
Well, if they do so, then we'll have to contemplate legal action, because if the state doesn't follow due process, if there's a fine line between the Public Finance Management Act as well as the Companies Act. We believe there's been transgressions there. So we'll unpack all the avenues and issues that we believe have been transgressed and take it to the courts if need be.
You're saying that there's been reckless trading by executives and boards of these subsidiaries. This is how they got to some of their problems?
Yes, I think if we look at the financial woes of Mango and SAA Technical, even prior to the economic meltdown, we don't see their financials. And they are state entities. We need to be able to see them. Then you go into COVID, and there's no request for either liquidation or going into business rescue by these entities. They never renegotiated or took the opportunity to renegotiate their loans, their leases, their bonds. And there was a lot of work that they could have done. Now they're in financial distress. And if they don't exercise those options that are available to them, put these entities into a far worse position financially, they could be accused of reckless trading. They never went down those roads, so we're asking why not.
Couldn't this ultimately mean an abandonment of all those workers whose livelihoods have been lost through no fault of their own?
Look, Bongani, there's always this humanity element, and we don't believe that the state should just keep propping up state-owned entities for the reason that they employ people. You must understand that as business goes, those seats are taken up by other airlines, jobs are created. What we need is a fair playing field. That doesn't happen in the case of state-owned airlines. We see how the ATNS, the International Air Services Council, even the Civil Aviation Authorities operate very leniently and create an uneven playing field for the state-owned airlines when you compare it to the private industry. So jobs will be taken up from companies who fold by others who don't fold.
And of course, one of the things you're highlighting is the bitter pill of being told last week by the Justice, or at least at the Justice Parliamentary Portfolio Committee, that funds for the SIU, for the NPA, those have been limited. There have been budget cuts in the fight against corruption.
Yes, exactly. And that's the real sad reality that we face here, is that you take money away from where we desperately need it to tackle and deal with corruption, and you allocate it to failing state-owned entities. It just doesn't make sense. The social compact between citizens and the state just seems to get worse and worse. The trust deficit grows, and we've got to stop this. We've got to get involved in our civil society and get government to come to its senses on some of these matters.
422 million rand cut from the NPA's budget, 41 million rand from the SIU. Does that indicate to you that with corruption cases mounting, we're actually serious about this scourge?
I don't think we are when we cut those budgets. You know, those institutions have been hollowed out during the Zuma years. They need capacity. They're on the right track from a leadership point of view. They're trying to tackle these serious issues of corruption and maladministration. And then to go and have their budgets cut like that, it just doesn't make sense while we try and bail out in state-owned institutions, which, you know, SAA has cost us, must be close on 70 billion rand over its last 2 decades. And that's not going to stop. We really need to get out of the business of, or government needs to get out of the business of complicated, competitive industries and enable the environment so that the public sector or private sector can thrive and create more jobs, be competitive, and pass on the benefits to society.
We'll leave it there. Wayne Duvenage, the CEO of the organization Undoing Tax Abuse.
Current events, developing stories,
Tough questions.
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.